Okay, so we're pretty seasoned with the general chat thing that I normally dish out at this point. Um, so maybe just a brief overview of who is left, who is left on the list, and just a quick breakdown of any work that you have before the auction. So typically, just to remind everyone, artworks are either put in the Residency Voice channel or sent in a DM to me. They can be in any stage of production, and we all come together, share the works, and consult the artwork at hand for 5 minutes. Take some quick notes. We then come back as a group with the artist leaving the mic on mute to talk about what we see in front of us, what iconography is being presented, and try and get an idea of what's being shown. The artist then will come back in and for the last 5 minutes explain what it is that we're looking at, and yeah, that is the feedback session. Any kind of improvements that we can suggest, we'll pass them on at that stage. So yeah, I think most of us. Who hasn't? I think most of us. Hey Helio, great to have you. I think most of us here have already been, but that's okay. I see Martha has sent through a piece, which is great. Depending on how many people come, if you have any new pieces or pieces that you might have for the auction that you'd like some feedback on, they can be shared here too. So yeah, Martha, do you mind if we start with your piece?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say something, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have much of a voice. What I'm sharing there is a compilation, but those are all individual pieces. But I think maybe the compilation gives a sense of kind of the collection. And maybe I get feedback on that, or maybe people can focus on one part of it, but it's not very long. It's you can imagine that each one of these might be several minutes long. They're slow pieces, or they might be a still image. But right now, I'm sharing a compilation to show the context of the body of the collection. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So am I right to go through each piece and then just let it automatically move on to the next one?
Yeah, it's actually one video. They're all compiled together.
Right, got it.
And they are, I mean, I guess one thing is they are part of one bigger drawing. It's like one continuous drawing over many days, but they're also individual drawings. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, lovely. So if you guys would like to get this up on your browser, feel free. I'm going to leave the mic on and let the audio play for Martha's work. So 5 minutes, Martha's piece, selection of pieces, starting now. Okay, so oh, so I've just seen your message, Martha. The audio that you're hearing doesn't go with the piece. Does this work for everyone? By the way, were you able to hear what was those three pieces that I just played just now? Awesome. Thanks for confirming. Does anyone? I mean, based on just what we saw, does anyone have any initial observations of these three videos? If I jump back to the first one, shower drawings, musical table, and displaced drawing. I can shoot some ideas to get us started if we're okay. Thank you, Andrea.
Oh, okay. Harry, it was only supposed to be the shower drawings. Did all of the play? That's why I was hearing an audio that didn't make any sense.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, that's
okay.
That's all right.
Well, yeah,
that's okay.
I supposed to be a compilation of the shower drawings. I didn't know those other things were on there. I apologize. That's too much. That's way too much. And I did hear the audio all choppy, and it was an audio of other things, so that's probably why. Okay. Well,
Well,
I'll leave
maybe
that. It'll just be what it is. Yeah.
maybe we can just talk about this then. The shower drawings. I'll just play this in the background. So, Andre's first thoughts are that this work is deconstructing intimacy and find interstices to be / exist. I found that it kind of gave me with the sounds, the sound design. It felt ambient, surreal, spatial, and discursive. I think the illustrations on the like writing on the door within the laser tape seems to resemble like a floor plan, which, to agree with Andre, has me like rethink intimacy and the idea of public spaces. Maybe if I can just turn this volume up a little bit. I think this text, the poetry written on it, also reminds me of Sasha Styles' work as well, ironically, which I thought was interesting. But yeah. Does anyone else have some initial thoughts for this piece?
Yeah, I can go myself.
Yeah, fire.
Yeah, I'm always like really intrigued with all of Martha's pieces because on the one hand, like the first thing that comes up to me is the geometrical abstraction, and that catches my attention for a while, and I'm really enjoying like how the upper layer of these taped drawings is interacting with the geometry of the space and the tiles in the back part, and how those change in different drawings, and there is an evolution on that. But then it's always at the same time confusing in a positive way because it's very unexpected that there is much more going on than just like the first impact of the geometry drawing, but there is also a very performative part of her drawing and moving, and that really adds a different layer and a very different mood to the actual piece. Then there is also the way the whole video is edited. Like the cuts are not like straightforward. There is this kind of like I don't know how you call them in English. This kind of like merges in between shots that fade away or like cross to the other one. The sound is also very eerie and also very not clear and intriguing. So the whole vibe of the piece for me, it's always very attractive in the sense that it feels unexpected and something that I'm not used to watch, maybe based on my own ignorance or what I'm used to see when I go to an exhibition show or what I see based on what I follow on Twitter of other crypto artists. But it's like much more complex and poetic, and it's almost like a mix in between dance and drawing and video. And that's like very interesting because it's something I'm not used to watch. And I would love Martha to elaborate more about that and how she designs a piece, whether it's everything very preconceived or there is room for improvisation and changes and the unexpected along the way. Because it's interesting. Like, do you start with the drawing? Do you start with the actual performative part? Is the video just a way of documenting the drawing, but the drawing is the piece, or is the video actually the piece? So there is many questions when I'm watching her pieces, and I think I have the feeling that she creates and she thinks in a very, very different way compared to myself, and that makes me very excited about like trying to understand what's going on and what are the different pillars of the creation per se, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. That was a great analysis there. Yeah, does anyone have anything to contribute? Because I think when I was just listening to you speak, I thought of an artist. Sorry, excuse me there. I thought of an artist that might be suitable for Martha, who works with, works with physical spaces and a lot with this kind of tape. I don't know if you've heard of Jim Lambie. Martha, but that might be an artist you'd like to have a look at, who works with interior spaces and tape to transform it. Yeah. So I suppose, without further ado, we should have Martha join us to explain shower drawings, if she is good to do that.
Thank you so much for all of that. I wanted to clarify one of Alejandro's questions that I missed. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something about because I took notes because I love everything you said. It's really great feedback, and also the feedback that Andres and you, Harry, thank you. Did you there was one part where you said that I'm working with fit, that is part performance, part video. Do you remember what you said? I missed that little piece.
I think that was Andreas.
I think it was Alejandro.
Yeah, but I cannot recall what I said, actually.
Okay,
you said something. You said something about this piece being performative with its video and with its yeah.
No worries. I was really happy to take notes, but I missed that little piece, and I'll just well, oh my gosh, this piece is really personal, but so it's really helpful to like put it out there and get feedback on it. I'm looking for my notes. But what I'll say is, just to respond to to Alejandro, and actually I'm losing now the other comments. I guess I'll absorb it all. Let me see, 1 second. I gotta look in here. Alejandro, Andres, disconstructing intimacy. I love that. Find interstices to be exist. Yes, it is very much. I was working at the same time with the public space, and I do a lot of projects in public space. And this particular time, it was during the pandemic, and I did a project in a very intimate space, but I made it public. What could be more intimate than the shower, the bathroom, right? And it's me. I'm the subject. Although that wasn't, it was very intuitive, and I was really conversing with the shadows, with the steam, with the water, and it's not preconceived. I create it all in the moment. But then I complete one drawing, and that drawing becomes the beginning for another drawing. So when I go back in there, I start to pull and start from that drawing and remove and add and change, and also change my outfit and just kind of bring all the elements. And it's also, I'm in the shower, I'm in this space, but I'm also outside of it, and I'm a reflection in it. So I'm spending time now kind of reflecting and looking at those reflections, both, physically, and reflections of information this is giving me about just even my own history. I actually can't find the piece of paper where I had made notes, so it's just all going to come from that. But yes, you did observe. My background is architecture, so I have been exploring the drawing. This one is the sectional drawing. I don't know if you all remember, I was doing the planimetric drawing, and they're all about like you cut space and you look inside. I'm very much in that idea of like, with a sectional drawing in particular, you open up and you look inside. So it is that process. And I'm like looking through these to see what else I had jotted down that maybe I need to mention. But I don't know. I think I like how you guys keep it more open and more collective. It can apply to intimacy and public space in terms of us. But it ties to my own experience with that, of course, and also my own experience of being, what I'm seeing actually is that I am entangled in a drawing, and it's almost like I want to come out of the drawing. I had my daughter many years ago tell me that she had a dream that she was living in a drawing or in a piece of art. I can't remember. And I feel like this is an interpretation of that. But I feel like that about all of my process. It's like I'm in it. It's my life. My life is a drawing. I refer to my life as a drawing. And I'm doing that at different scales. But
well, I mean, thank you for. Oh, sorry, I interrupted Martha.
No, it's okay. I never found my notes, so I'm just kind of just brainstorming here. But I really mostly wanted to hear how you guys interpret it. There's a lot. I mean, I guess the thing I'll say, I spent about a decade really focused on my daughter, and it's like I'm, and also it's this process of emerging, of coming out of this container too, you know. So anyway, I'll leave it there for now. Yeah, Harry, you wanted to say something else?
No, I was just thanking you for giving us that explanation. It's always interesting to hear architects talk about their practice, particularly when they talk about envisaging open spaces and how space should be treated within the confines of the practice. So this was really enjoyable to look at. It was also interesting. What I didn't pick up on initially was I know that Alejandro, he caught on it better than I did, was this sense of co-production that you have with the environment. I just didn't realize how in depth it was with how you're thinking about the steam within this sectional drawing, if I'm not mistaken. It's interesting to just hear how these ideas and the way you've been brainstorming this space changes over time as well. So I'm
like life. It's like life itself is always changing, and we don't realize that it's changed. And can I answer Alejandro's question? I just remember he asked me which is the piece. Is all of it, and there's even more. Like the piece is in the moment, but in the moment it's just me. Nobody can see it. So I document it, and and then the documentation becomes another piece. That's why I say that my work is generative. And then from that, well, then now I have a lot of ideas for the sound, which I haven't even gotten into, which include some of my writings. That's why I wrote also on the piece. But there's also pieces that is the making of the piece. And then there's pieces when I get into the piece, and my collaborator says that I do performances that are not performances, and I love that statement. So I kind of have embraced it, because this is they're like just going about. It's inhabiting space like we inhabit life.
And that is quite beautiful, Martha. Thank you. So I think it was that's interesting to hear about the sound design incorporated as well, because it was intriguing, the ambient sound in the background. But it's cool to hear that you're also contemplating adding more dimensions to that. So I think thank you again, Martha, for contributing today. Okay, sure. Architecture. Let's have a look at this link, Helio. I should say that we have a bit more time today. Interesting. Thank you. We have a bit more time today to talk about works, as I think a few of the artists that are on our list to look at haven't appeared, unfortunately. So I think Alejandro has been so kind as to provide me with another link to his work. So I think if everyone's okay, we can take a look at this next. Let's see here. All right, so this is exciting. This looks really interesting. I suppose we can just call the title Broken Flowers from Don Johnston 1. 5 minutes starting. When it loads, starting now. Okay, so what are our first impressions of this piece? I think this is beautiful, by the way, Alejandro. I can throw in a few ideas, by the way, to get us started as well.
Presumably, the image is actually responding to the film "Broken Flowers" by Jim Jarmusch very directly. It seems to be crucial in the comments that there's quotes from this film alluding to this image. In the film, flowers are placed upon the grave of one of the girlfriends of a Don Juan who has gone across the country meeting each one of his former lovers in order to find out if she is the author of a love letter to him indicating that she has been pregnant and birthed a son. And in each one of those encounters, he discovers that she's not, in fact, the mother of his son. And he leaves behind the flowers upon the grave of one person who has died before the events of the film. Presumably this is an image perhaps of those flowers that have been left upon the grave and constitute a kind of composite image of the whole experience of the movie. You get a packaged appearance of a diverse variety of flowers, each one of which might represent perhaps one of these women that the character meets in the course of the movie. And finally, they're simply left upon the grave of one of the now forgotten lovers. It's a really great film by Jim Jarmusch, and kind of an amazing kind of French inflected cinematic experience. That's about all I have to say with it, except, of course, the image is exceptionally beautiful, but I think it really depends upon the commentary that and its relationship to the movie. I think that there's some important elusiveness to between that picture and its artificiality that it's created by machines. Presumably, it's been ported by artificial intelligence, and its relationship to the actual themes of that film by Jarmusch.
Thank you, Christian. I think you've just filled in a majority of the gaps that I could have ever thought of. I was thinking, what is the message behind this piece? And that really, I think, maybe got straight to it. So thank you. Just to pick up on, I suppose, the materiality of the piece. I love, well, firstly, that explanation seems to offer a lot of insight into what is going on in this piece. I again, that is highly contextual. I'm intrigued by these applications of what appears to be acrylic paint. I love how high resolution this is, and I'm also intrigued by, just from a visual perspective, how these layers are superimposed on each other. I can see this as being plastic that you could potentially wrap around some flowers to place on a grave. But over here, it feels like hard plastic. So I'm just wondering what the relevance of that is when they're all laid on top of each other in regards to that theme that Christian mentioned. What else did I pick up on? I think that's those are my 2 cents for now. What does everyone else think? Oh, Martha's commented. Also loves the materiality. It is tactile, and at times we see the plastic wrap of flowers like they're encased and underwater. That's another intriguing thing, Martha. The appearance of being underwater. I feel like we're standing on ice. It could be plastic, it could be ice. I'm really not sure, but as Christian said, perhaps this image was generated by AI. But I'm intrigued how the surface that we are looking at this from relates to the iconography in the film Broken Flowers.
Well, the character's name is Don Johnson, and of course he's a former kind of Don Juan figure.
Right.
Right. So now he's gone back to revisit each one of these lovers, and each one of those encounters goes increasingly awry. And I suppose he's skating on thin ice every time he encounters each one of these women. One of whom is a flower child, for example. The floral illusions are there, and I was about to just note that they remind me of Ophelia in The Drowning, and Alejandro has weighed in pretty quickly that he's thinking about that painting by John Everett Millais. Really wonderful painting. It's the significance of the flowers being laid on the grave of the last woman that I think comes out in this particular image. There's he wakes up over the course of this experience wounded and injured. He's beaten up eventually. He returns home quite broken with the question completely unanswered whether or not he's in fact a father. So it's a relatively open-ended story that has this kind of strange magical ending in which he might actually meet his son. Turns out it's not his son, and there's a great deal of ambiguity about the nature of the ending. And I think that you see some of that here, especially among the paint splotches. Like, to me, it seems like it's a Polaroid that has been modified by some splash of paint, and that's the only allusion, of course, to its artfulness. Otherwise, it seems to me it's a really very digitized image, or Polaroid, perhaps, or something like that, like paint on a Polaroid. And I should note too that Luciana has actually collected this, so she might have a lot to say about why she collected it.
That is very interesting. Yeah, that'd be great to get some insight.
Oh, can I don't know. I guess, can I jump in? And I don't even know what I'm gonna say. But I just feel like I have a hard time typing. I just wanted to, well, I think I mentioned it already. I just went into this, I've just had all this stuff happen to me with flowers this week. A lot of connections and serendipity. So I was really drawn to this piece too when I saw it, because it's gorgeous, the composition. But I also wanted to mention about the fragility of flowers and how how it's a very particular way that they have to be cared for, and here there's a kind of, I don't know, maybe something came up about, I mean, they're preserved, or they're not flowers, but they exist as this image, as this layers of image, and they're they're either preserve or preserve as an image. So there's something about that. But I will have to reflect on this connection to the flowers. For me, I'm very excited about this piece. It's beautiful.
It is, Martha, 100%. Whilst you were talking about that, excuse me, cough, the fragility of flowers, it actually took me back to Taimaz's work from the last critique session, and similar themes there, with regards to flowers and the affixation on flowers. So yeah,
or maybe so their temporality, and their it's not even that they're fragile, but that they require a particular environment, each one. So maybe it's more about that. There's some about that, especially since it seems like it's encased under water, encased under glass or plastic, preserved.
Absolutely. Food for thought. So I can see that Luciana's just typing, but I was wondering if Alejandro, unless anyone has, okay. Let me just read Luciana's comment. I didn't watch the film, but always happens to me with Alejandro's work that they have not only a great concept behind it, but a true reason to exist, but also a wonderful aesthetic. The colours, the composition are great, and the idea of thinking in broken flowers is like a disruption in the softness, love, and beauty. Interesting. Great to hear some collector insights. So yeah, there is definitely a nostalgic aesthetic with this work that definitely shines through. So thank you, Luciana.
To it, before Christian had mentioned all that stuff, I really liked the kind of subtlety of this work, because as everyone is all kind of discussed about how the flowers seem like whether they're underwater or they're frozen or they're being captured in something. I thought, I don't know, as you look closer to it looks like there's like broken glass and stuff. And so like hearing, Christian's insight with this too, I really like this piece. There's like a lot of nuance to it, and I think it's really exciting. Thank you. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you, Zareen. I think, we can look into this for hours, but I was wondering if Alejandro might be able to let us in on what this is all about. And was Christian spot on or not?
Thank you all for your comments. It's been like super interesting. It's always like really interesting to get to hear what others think about your pieces. And it's something that it doesn't happen so often in the space. So it's great to have this time to stop down and to listen what other people think about the pieces and how similar some comments are to my own thoughts when I was creating it, and some others are so different, but also so enlightening even to me. So thank you for your really thoughtful comments. And yes, I mean, I can only say that flowers, it's one of the subject matters I keep coming back in my practice over the years. And it's not always like super present, but I like it. And I like the idea that we have this weird, to me, awkward, like behavior as human beings of giving this as a present for many different social events. It can be a birthday, it can be a Valentine's date, or it can be a death of somebody, but we are actually offering like a death living being, right, to the others instead of. It's weird to me that we are offering something that is talking so directly to me to what's the death as a concept, and this idea that they will wilt very quickly, that their living period is really brief, and that it's something very ephemeral. And that's something I really like, and I like it because of the idea of the reference to dying as a fact, and we all like aging and approaching that. And Christian was really right. I mean, this was a direct response to the movie, and it was I usually take like references like from books or movies that I like in order to take the opportunity to dive into my own like visual vocabulary. So it's not that I'm trying to really illustrate a story, because there is already like the movie per se and the poster and everything, but just like getting inspired by visual image that I can get while being exposed to another piece and trying to do something with it. And this was, of course, like a reaction to the movie, which I love. And yeah, there is this idea of different flowers as different women, and this idea of wilting because they are not very fresh flowers. Then the fact I found interesting that Christian mentioned that the digitality of the image comes from the AI nature of it, because it's not an AI image actually. So these are flowers that I actually bought myself in the flower shop next to my studio, and that I scanned with a traditional normal scanner at my studio. So scanning and Xerox is something that I really like in my practice, because there is a textural component that I really like, and that's something that it's a leitmotif in terms of process. So these are literally like scanned flowers in a broken glass scanner at my studio. So there is no water, no freezing, no plastic. It's the actual vibe you get when you scan, and at the same time you gently move the subjects that are being scanned, so you get this kind of like liquefying effect, but it's not digital, so it's all done as a process of scanning the actual objects. And of course there is layering, because it's not that all the flowers were at the same time in the scanner, but then I do like a recompositions of the different flowers I've scanned over one session. So this is the first piece of a series, and I've released only this one, but yeah, there is that component of already very wilt flowers that I scanned, and you get this idea of I don't know, something that it's the idea of trying to preserve something that is inevitably about to die, and that's something I'm interested in as a poetic idea. So yeah, then there is like all these blobs and like ink splashes and stuff. That's stuff I also work on directly on the glass of the scanner myself, and then I scan those blobs and that stuff. So those are real acrylic paint and acrylic inks that I have at my studio and that I use in my IRL practice. And they are not scanned at the same time than the flowers because I need to be quick in order to clean it up so it doesn't stain the actual glass of the scanner, so I can keep using it. So let's say that different elements have been scanned in different moments, and then there is a digital collage process on my computer to reassemble and build the image. So I would call it more like a collage than any other thing. If even it doesn't really look like a collage, the way I approach it is pretty much like that. But it was interesting to me that the eeriness that comes from the fact of moving the elements when scanning and adding these 2D blobs and splashes and the broken glass of the actual scanner and all this stuff made people think that it was an AI image. That was like very interesting because it makes me think that we are being so exposed to AI images that we start to identify in patterns, even in things that had I presented this work like 5 years ago to an audience, nobody would have made that comment. So that makes me very happy to see how fast things are evolving and how technology is reshaping the way we read and we interpret art in our contemporary context. So that's been very kind of like interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much the process. I don't know if anybody has any question. I'm really happy to answer it.
I like the fact, Alejandro, that the scanning process becomes a cipher for photography itself. The fact that you get a Polaroid effect from that particular medium made all the more interesting because, of course, you can interact with the actual platen of the photocopier or the scanner with the inks and gels. I think that's really neat. And of course, you're right. If this had come out 5 years ago, it might be more easily identifiable as the product of a homegrown scanner. I think we would have used that as a métier. But of course, against the backdrop of seeing it on Object or any other Web3 protocol, we have to jump to that conclusion that it must have been made digitally through some enhanced artificial intellect or a generative algorithm first. That has to occur. This is actually more handcrafted than that. Seems to me a nice surprise, and I really do like the fact that it's Polaroid. It even begins to draw upon the palettes that you might see on greeting cards. Again, given the fact that the person's received a letter that is tantamount to a kind of anonymous greeting card, I think it's a well-crafted image, and the illusions, I think, strengthen its merits. It's very, very good.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. But the fact of identifying it as AI wouldn't be like weird because I do work a lot with AI as well in other pieces. So I don't know to which extent that's also informing my own like non-AI practice in a way, because there is always like transferences and interruptions. So that's as a process collectively is very interesting to me as well. So I really like that comment and to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback, Christian, to Alejandro. Whilst you're talking about Xerox printers, you are right. Technology has changed the way that we interpret art. I just thought then of, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Matteo Caccini. He's one of the, quote, OG crypto artists who really loves Xerox printers. If I can just, let's see, Matteo Caccini, Xerox. You'll be able to find similar experimentation from him, and he's been using the scanner to create glitches over time and to create illusions as well. And maybe just put that in the chat just as a means of inspiration. But I see that Martha has made a load of comments, which is wonderful. I was wondering, Martha, would you like to say them? I can read them. It's up to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let me see. Where are they? Oh my gosh. Oh, where? Which ones? Oh, where? Oh, okay. Temporarily a flower. We already talked about that. We talked about that already. The broken is such an interesting contrast to flowers. You don't think of flowers being broken. You think of flowers wilting slowly. Broken invites the glass, which and it gives it a soul. When you think of a broken person or something like that. Also, I thought, Alejandro, and you gave me such wonderful feedback, and I thought that your work ties to my work. With the one that we just watched, the life, the changing quickly, but you don't realizing that it's changing. And I just told you that I have a version of the flower shower, in which is wilting. I love the scan. The scan is like the version of a section cut. I reference a lot in my work the medical scans that like allows us to see inside of our bodies. So yeah, and then the scanner process that you did is so tactile, and that's very evident in the work. I was just inspired just typing as you were talking, just adding more exchange and more connection, between overlaps and things that we see.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Martha. But yeah,
no, it's perfect.
So yeah, it is interesting. I think this is very effective at what it sets out to achieve. This piece, as Christian confirmed, there is a great sense of illusion here, and it was fascinating to know that you paint on the scanner as well. And that's one thing that caught me, was that this collage, as you said, Alejandro, represents different times and different moments. So I think from a compositional perspective, it relates to that theme that you're talking about, Martha, of being broken.
Yeah. Sorry, Harry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. It's all good.
But I just like, wow. It's just, I like drawing relationships. If we think about my piece in the shower, and I draw on the glass, but I draw behind on the wall, and I'm inside, but I'm also a reflection. There's a lot of that happening too. Like with the scanner, it's like the scanner has this depth, this space in which it captures this. It flattens the flowers. The flowers have to be flattened, but they're in there in this space, and you also capture their depth. But then the adding of the paint on the scanner is kind of like maybe analogous to my drawing of the tape on that surface, and everything happening behind, everything happening in front. I thought that was interesting, and I got too excited and I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, that's a great comparison, and perhaps means grounds for a collaboration between you two. That's something I would love to see. I'm just
in here, yeah.
So I think we can round up this piece. It's been great to hear all of your feedback for Alejandro, and this is beautiful and very enjoyable. So thank you, and So I think does anyone have artworks they'd like to share in the lead up to the auction? It can be anything. It appears, Boya, that the artists that need to come up basically aren't present, so it's an open zone.
Yes, that's the case, unfortunately. So if anyone who is present here would like to share another piece, you're very welcome to do so. We have 30 more minutes, which is a great time.
I guess I could share my project that I just launched on Object. My first Tesos work is a woman. Well, anyway, I won't say much. Should I share that? Is there time?
Yeah, no, there's plenty of time, Martha.
I wonder if I wonder if the artwork that Taimaz just shared is Tai, is that your artwork? Should we critique this one?
It's actually, I was editing this before the. This is not edited, so I was working on the colors before our class. But yeah, if you guys want to have a look, yeah, something
it'd be
I
fun to
was
look at that,
working
sure.
on. So I also have in mind that this will be a part of a collection, that all the collection will come in pair. This is not a diptych, but the collection will somehow be in pairs. So yeah, I just put them next to each other because yeah, they're a pair.
Okay. Thank you, Timaz. Yeah, this is great. Honestly, I don't think we've had these kind of like sketches or ideas like put straight into a VCA critique before, so that's really exciting. All right, so we wanted to do the due diligence on this one. Timaz's new work, 5 minutes, starting now. Okay, so I was going to say, does anyone have any ideas? But it seems that Alejandro has kindly contributed a work already, The Monk by the Sea, which is a beautiful painting, which captures kind of what I see to be the same theme in this pair of works. Thank you for that, Alejandro. That's really cool. Does anyone have any first thoughts on these two works?
I'll go ahead. Oops, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, please.
When I noticed this pattern with Timeless's work that has this feeling of dreaminess and like memory, at least based off of what we saw last critique. And I am really curious to see the play of concepts that she's doing with the blockchain, because previously it was a flower shop, and so I'm very curious to see like this physical to the meta. And here, she said that it's a pair, so I'm looking at them both. One cannot be without the other. Is that what this means? And yes, this and the movement is very calming. And yeah, these were the first things that came to my mind. Beautiful work, Tamas.
Thank you, Zareen. Yeah, those 2 points that you made are interesting. One can't be without the other. I'm just trying to look at them now through one lens, like trying to see one on its own to see how that would feel. The impression that I got was that these felt to me quite lonely, and perhaps not of a dream, but something of like a nightmare or some kind of trauma. I think this is largely down to the palette and the shutter speed again. And when Zareen just mentioned about the last series of works that Taimaz kindly showed us, I felt like they felt more intimate because maybe the subject matter was dealing with flowers again. And I think in turn I could associate feelings of sentimentality to that, and perhaps that of a dream. I think this one just feels very, at least to me, just distant, foreign. I can't cite it where it might be. So I think I'm not sure if that's what Timeless is intending to achieve, but it's certainly what I was getting. So
I could add a couple of things. Just also carrying with the idea of temporality that we've been talking about with the other pieces. This one embodies it. It is as if it's being blown away. It very much has that quality of it's in transition. It also, the word muted came to me. I guess the coloring is just kind of, yeah. And I also thought it was a gorgeous piece. As soon as I saw it, I was curious about the two frames. Initially, I read it as one piece that had a gap between it. And as I looked at it more, I realized that they are two different pieces, but they do truly merge. So that was a question I had, and why they're presented in that way, that duality or that merging. That's what I wanted to contribute right now. Just my impressions of it. Beautiful work.
Thank you, Martha. Yeah, I think those feelings are very valid when looking at this piece. I don't know what you guys think, but again, because I'm sharing through Discord, I can see these two works from a distance. But I think if you look at this work from maybe like 20, if we zoom out a little bit here, I think these kind of remind me of watercolor washes. I think the materiality of this is quite fascinating. Where if you were to apply too much water to paint when making a landscape, you'll get this typically messy, or just this kind of not intentionally defined landscape. And then it made me think of I thought of the way, like, with Friedrich and The Monk by the Sea, and works by Turner as well, how things in the distance are painted, very in a very minimalist way, a very how would I put this, like not so much detail, but you can get the forms by using like the stipple of a brush. I think from a distance, that reminds me of those influences too. And I was just wondering if there are any kind of painterly references in there. I have a feeling I might be rambling as well. So does anyone have anything else to chuck in there?
Yeah, I can jump in. I mean, first I have to say that I truly love both pieces. I think they're fascinating, and I love the way they move between abstraction and photography and something that you cannot really comprehend, right? There is a certain kind of encryption in them that make them like very, very appealing. They made me think right away of one quote by one of my favorite painters, Ian McKeever, and he talks about this idea of paintings or any visual art piece not being about space, but about this idea of time and latency, and this idea of they having the capability of stopping time and stretching it in a way that you feel trapped and you have to dive into the piece. And that's the feeling I got with these pieces, because you don't know, as you said, if it's a nightmare or a dream, but there is something like eerie and weird that's going on that keeps you zooming in and trying to navigate whatever is going on in there. And I think like both works feel to me like very mature, and I really appreciate, especially in the space, which is a very, very noisy, right, and flashy, and sometimes like even gimmicky ecosystem, finding like a very minimal piece that has this level of maturity and subtlety and still works so well, and it's so evocative and so inspiring. I think it's very unique, and I truly love the palette, the composition, the motion, this idea of movement that you can perceive because of these halos and these shades that move. And going back to this game that we had before between AI and scanning and so on, first of all, like the second image, like the one on the right, I wondered for a second if it was like a generative piece or photography, because there is even an aspect of some sort of algorithmic repetitions in the motion of the darker areas that could actually be FX hash like piece at some point, like frozen, right? So those echoes, I think they are like very interesting as well. But overall, I have to say that I truly love these two pieces, and they are like fantastic in my opinion, and not so common to have something this simple working so well and so robustly in the space. So congrats, Temas, for the pieces.
Wow, thank you so much. To be honest, I was not expecting this many feedback from these two pieces. In the recent years, I've been like very much attracted to do abstract photography, and these are made with my phone. It could be a bit hard to believe, but this is from a morning that I was sitting on a train, and actually it was a very stressful morning for me because I was going from from Turin to Milan for like a very big paperwork appointment, and I was very like stressed about it. So I usually, like, when I'm on a train, I like listen to music or read something. So I was just looking around outside the train and trying to like take pictures of the landscape that was outside and we were passing by, because it was like I think it's around August, so everywhere was green and everywhere was still like summer colors. So I was trying to grab these landscape photos with my phone, and iPhone has the long exposure option that you can play around with, and it's like these shots are from hundreds and hundreds of photos that I took while I was on the ride. So I think sometimes playing around with very simple tools that we have right in front of us can sometimes give us the results that we don't expect. I do a lot of photography with my phone in the previous years. I think I was trying to calm myself down that day when I was so stressed by just doing photography and listening to music. And I remember that this was a very stressful day for me. And the idea of putting these together was that I felt like one was very one picture was not enough to show the landscape that I was looking at, and I felt like one had a lot of movements. So I felt like these two next to each other kind of complemented what I was looking at outside the train. So I decided to put these together, and I've been very unconsciously putting pairing my own work together with not only these but other works as well. So I decided to come up with a collection that are only pairs. So I didn't want to put them as a diptych, because diptychs you have to put it like this. I didn't want to limit the viewer to one image that's broken in half, but I wanted the viewer, the collector, to get the two pairs together. And that's how the collection works, and how two works complement each other, just like you buy a frame for your house and you buy two so you can hang both together. Somehow like that. So I'm working on photos that continue in each other. As you said, we want to stretch time, and I think what I was going for is that to continue one photo in another. So it feels like they're not ending. So basically that was what I was going for when I put these two together, and the other pairs as well. But because I was going to mint these as they were going to be a part of Foundation World, and I asked my friend who is curating the world, these have to go together. So I'm the only person who will have two complementary pieces in there, and the collection standalone will continue as pairs of two, and pairs two, and so on. So yeah. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you, Timaz. That was fascinating to hear. I think your description of having a really bad day, a stressful one, sort of does certainly reflect itself in the iconography here, and also the level of stress as well. As seen through the quite shutter speed, like you can feel the dynamism. And actually, Martha just commented as well, like continuing one photo on another is like takes of life, and like the view out of a train passing by. That is quite that's a beautiful metaphor, actually, like a film strip.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very enjoyable. So I think that we've as a group here we've observed maybe more intimate feelings, positive feelings, and then also negative emotions as well. When trying to figure out the symbolism of this work, I think that's been interesting between like Zareen and myself, and I think Alejandro's analysis as well was very interesting. Where it's not about space, but it's about time. So this is all relative, like time. So yeah, I mean, I'd be excited to see this in Foundation. I think that would be very exciting. And thank you, Timas, for sending us through what is a sketch essentially of not diptychs.
Yes, not diptychs. Basically, I sent this to my friend to suggest for his world, because he's curating a world about time travel or a journey through time. It's some kind of concept like that. So he invited me to be a part of the world, and I picked these two to be a part of there because somehow I wanted to. That morning, I wanted to vanish in time and stay in that landscape and not go to that office for my paperwork. But yeah, I feel like somehow photography can always transform us in many different ways. I feel like it's the same with AI. When your mind doesn't want to be here in the reality, you can just dive into another world and explore that.
Yeah, absolutely, Timas. Thank you. And this ties in perfectly. We've actually created quite a good ongoing theme for this week, and that's to do with time. So, yeah, it's interesting how similar you and Alejandro have with your work, the understanding of time. And I think Martha also has that, but also relates to spaces as well and transformation. So, yeah, thank you, guys, for showing your work, and I appreciate the ad hoc nature of this last cohort critique. And I just want to say that you have inspired me with your work. You always manage to do it. It's great to hear just varying levels of insight from everybody, and I think it really helps you guys to get a sense of where you're at with your practice and how people are going to see it once it goes live. Most of these are already live, but it's great to get that sense of what collectors will be seeing. Oh, awesome! I'm glad that we gave you an idea for the collection name. Yay, serendipity. What can I say? But yeah, I'd just like to say to you guys before, I know we have 4 minutes left, but just the best of luck with your residency auction. And I'm excited to hear what Boya has to say about the metaverse space. And it will look fantastic, I'm sure, all of your final pieces within it. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And
thanks, Harry, for